It's that time of year again to talk about some of my favorite movies of 2022. Let's go ahead and get started. I would like to go ahead and start off with some honorable mentions though. Hellraiser, a movie that I didn't think I liked, but apparently I liked it a lot more than the original. The Gray Man, it's pretty much the good and clean version of a schlocky Michael Bay film. I had a lot of fun with this one. Elvis, it would have been on the list because there's a really good story here, but it was a really long movie and it felt exhausting. Barbarian, another film that was pretty much a surprise for a lot of people, but it wasn't one of my favorites of the year, although I did really like what it did. Bullet Train, I wished it would have been higher on the list, and there are some things that held it back, but I still had a good time watching this one. Black Phone, I enjoyed Scott Derrickson's direction in this one. I enjoyed the story. I felt like that the movie was a little too vague though, and it could have done a little bit more than what it was doing. And finally, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It would have been in the list. It was just short of the top 10 list. It would have been number 11, but man, I really like this one. So now that we got the honorable mentions out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with number 10. Coming in at number 10 is going to be Violent Night. My thoughts on this film are basically the exact same as my thoughts on The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I miss movies that just basically do this. They give you exactly what you're hoping for. The flaws, you can pretty much ignore them. As long as what it's trying to deliver you stays true and it plays it to its strengths, then you can enjoy the film as much as you want. And I had a great time watching it. Number 9 is going to be Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I have not seen the show, but I do know these characters. When I saw that a lot of people were actually talking crazy nuts about this movie, I decided to just watch it on an off time when I didn't have anything to do. And when I saw it, I had a great time watching it. I don't know if it's like highly accurate to how the show is represented, so I can't really say it's a faithful adaptation, but it really did took me back to the time when I was watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it had all these other characters in here and placing them in as Easter eggs. The jokes in here, they were very funny. I liked all the characters that they brought in here, and I love what they did with Ugly Sonic in here. I was spoiled by the internet. I knew that he was in the movie before I even watched it. But the fact that they got him in here, and the fact that he played a role in the end, was just great. I will absolutely pay money if they do create a show about this, or just some type of short. I just gotta see that. That just looks amazing to me. Coming in at number 8 is going to be Scream 5, or Scream, whatever it's called. The Scream franchise has never ceased to fail me on being entertaining. I never thought that this movie was going to work from the beginning. It was a movie that was coming out in January. I just thought it was another typical horror sequel that was coming out just so that it can make money. There was nothing that it could be able to do, but it managed to gather in a bunch of material that works to this very day, and it's very relevant to how people would watch movies and how they criticize film and how they look at movies as a whole. All of the meta humor was great for me. I love it when this franchise does this. It's just so much fun and energetic. I mean, again, some of the slasher stuff I'm not necessarily a fan of, but when it gets to the comedy and the horror mixed within itself, it's just a great time. I had a blast with it. Coming in at number 7 is going to be The Northman. Apparently when I uploaded my review of the movie, people thought that I hated the film. That's not true. I just didn't think it was one of the greatest films that was ever made. Although it is great to see movies like this again, taking in like Norse mythology and Vikings and like poetic storytelling like this. I like seeing films like this where they're at least trying to do something like that. And I don't really watch Robert Eggers movies. This is probably the first film that I've seen from his. And for what he's done, it's still pretty good. There's some great shots, there's some pretty good writing in here, and some really good acting. And I wouldn't mind watching this movie again to see if there's more complexity to it. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Knives Out was definitely my favorite movie of 2019, and I was pretty nervous to see if this film was just not going to be that good. And while, yes, I don't think it's as awesome as the first one, I still think it's a pretty enjoyable film. It's got a lot of fun characters, some great cinematography. There were twists and turns that I kind of didn't expect coming, even though there were other places I knew where the film was going. But as a whole, this movie gave me pretty much what I wanted, and I enjoyed it throughout the entire time. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Top Gun Maverick. Speaking as somebody that has seen the first Top Gun movie, I didn't really understand why a lot of people were really anticipating seeing this film. I mean, the first Top Gun movie is fine, and I understand why people really enjoyed it, but it wasn't anything special in my eyes. However, when I saw the first flying scene in the opening of this film, I was automatically sucked in, and I automatically understood why a lot of people were really excited to see it. This has some of the most beautiful cinematography and amazing flying scenes that I've ever sat through in a movie theater. And I thought that the writing and storytelling for the characters was a lot better, mostly because of what happened within the third act of the first Top Gun movie. It brings a lot of the stuff that I did like from the first Top Gun movie in here and elevates it and makes it a lot better. I haven't seen the movie again, and I don't know if on rewatch I would put this film on a lower standard now, mostly because it was an amazing theatrical experience. But to be honest, the experience that I had on the first go-round, it was still awesome. I just had to put it up this high. Coming in at number 4 is going to be The Batman. I didn't think that this movie would be up this high, and I don't consider it to be like one of the best Batman movies of all time, or the best Batman movies. I still think The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, like Mask of the Phantasm are better than this. But to be honest, when it plays to its strengths, there's just so much that I really like in here that it makes me feel like I am really watching a Batman movie, and I really like that this movie gave me that Batman movie. I won't deny the problems in here that caused me to not put this at like number 1 or number 2 like a lot of other people are probably going to. But Pattinson, absolutely my favorite live-action Batman. The Gotham City lore, fantastic. Love the atmosphere that they have in here. The soundtrack is awesome. Some of the fight scenes in here, just absolutely amazing. When those moments just hit, it just makes me feel like I am watching somewhat of a great Batman movie. It just, I love seeing those moments. Coming in at number 3 is a movie I didn't expect to put it up this high, but the more I thought about it, the more I just had to put it up here, and that's going to be Prey. It's a shame that this movie wasn't released in the movie theater, and I don't think it would have made a lot of money considering that the last Predator movie came out was pretty much a disaster. But I'm still glad that this movie existed because, man, there's some great storytelling, great action, like really good characters in here. I love the new design that they had for the Predator. I love the ideas that they had with the Predators and the humans going against each other. The choices and the decisions in here felt new and refreshing. And personally, I felt like I enjoyed this movie more than the original Predator film. This is a movie that I didn't really have much anticipation for and I didn't expect to like it, but man, here we are. It's at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is one that you're probably going to be questioning a good bit. Like, really? This one up high like all of the other films? Like, really? This one? And it's going to be Hustle. And it's not like people hated this film. They liked it. They just don't see it as an excellent film like all of the other movies that I mentioned. But here's the thing. Just because a movie has a formula that you are familiar with before, it doesn't automatically mean it isn't great. Movies can have a very similar premise that we've seen before. It just depends on the execution on how it's delivered. And for me, I'm a sucker for formulas like this, and I really like it when I see underdog stories, especially in sport films, like Fighting with My Family. That movie, I love that film. This one does the exact same thing, and I like that it's Adam Sandler that we're seeing as the motivator for the underdog. Adam Sandler has proven himself to do movies where he can be taken seriously and isn't always just doing like schlocky slapstick comedy. He even shows some of his comedic material in here, and it comes off as genuinely funny. And for me personally, it's not just an underdog story for the basketball player with inside the movie, it's also an underdog story for Adam Sandler. He is a good actor, and he can be a funny guy, and he has proven himself in the past to do good material, and I want to continue to see him doing more stuff like this in the near future, whether or not it's funny or serious. So, my number 1 favorite movie of 2022 should not be a surprise because the review that I gave for the movie has at least 49,000 views, and I said that I love the movie. It's going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once. The movie was hilarious. The story was great. I love the idea that they have in here. They took in every single opportunity to take advantage of the premise itself and elevate it to how awesome and epic it can be. It was dramatic, it was funny, it was imaginative, it was inspiring and creative. It was so much of what I love about film. It's one of my favorite A24 movies ever, and I can't wait to see what more they have in store in the near future. What are some of your favorite movies in 2022? Put them down in the comment section below and let's have a conversation about it. And like this video if you agree with what I say, or dislike this video if you disagree with what I say. I don't mind the dislikes. So that is it I have for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be sure to see you in the next video.